surfing. That's what it was.
The best one, the adolescent radioactive kung fu hamsters.
Oh yeah, I like Biker Mice from Mars was one of those that I like the theme song like bothered me so much that I was like, I'm never watching this show. Like I don't like it. What was the Moo Mesa, like Cowboys from Moo Mesa? Yeah, that was another wonderful knockoff. It's like, hey, what was there? Tomcats. See, I did that. SWAT Cats. Yeah, SWAT Cats was
I would love yourself.
that was a little bit different, yeah, because like that was like Top Gun, but like furries. You know, like which was fine. I liked it.
Saturday morning cartoons. Who misses that?
Yeah. I don't envy the like fact that it's like, man, I just want to see this one episode again. And like, man, they're playing the Phoenix Saga, you know, over and over again, and I just want to watch the Nightcrawler episode of X-Men, you know, I'm jealous of the fact that like kids can now like watch the entirety of the Ninja Turtles library like on their phones while we're like, you know, in the car, you know, it's like, man, car rides are so much better with phones these days.
This is before you even knew what a season was. You just, why is it replaying it?
Yeah, why aren't there new episodes anymore?
What's going on? Why did it go back? I remember that page with Dragon Balls and like Dragon Balls.
It's like
Snake Road.
It's the end of the Frieza saga. I think it was the same saga. I'm like,
What happened?
What time is it?
I think we got it.
It's turtle time. Pizza time.
It's pizza time.
I walked right into that one. That was right into that. Oh yeah, happy Father's Day. Fathers out there. Hey, any fathers out there, stand up, take a bow. No, you probably stay sitting because you're tired. You're over there.
Yeah, my kids are out there. They're out playing around, and it's funny. My daughter was like, "Dad, I want this Funko." I was like, "Yeah, let me grab my wallet. I already have it." Oh, okay.
Well, it's like, it's really cool seeing all the dads here with their kids because, like, you know, when I was growing up, my, you know, mom still kind of got weird looks, you know, like from people when it's like, oh yeah, we're going to this thing. And she's like, you're taking your kids to that Star Wars thing? Like, why would you do that? Like, and now it's just become so widely accepted, and it's like so awesome to see people celebrating the stuff that they loved as a kid that they can now, you know, watch with that new generation. Like, are you going to see Lightyear with your kids?
You know what? They're minions. They're out there. They love the minions.
Oh, minions, yeah.
All right, everybody,
Cool.
here we go.
We gotta do the introductions. So, ladies and gentlemen, the creator of Ninja Turtles, Kevin Eastman. All right, yeah, we'll pass the microphone over. Kevin.
Hey guys! I just want to say that back in 2020 we were scheduled to come up here and we weren't able to come up here. It really disappointed us. We're glad we finally made it up here to hang out with you guys. You guys have been awesome waiting those lines to see my ugly face. Let me sign these autographs, so appreciate you, love you, thank you, Cowabunga.
Thank you, Cowabunga.
Now, Kevin, a lot has changed since 2020 for Ninja Turtles. There's been kind of a resurgence of Turtles. What do you think was the catalyst for that, and how do you feel about seeing Turtles everywhere again?
Well, it's all your fault. Thank you. No, that's really the catalyst for so many things that have driven the Turtles over the years. It's really the fans, because we've had the original fans of the black and white comics, then we had a lot of you people when you were very young discovered the animated show, which was more than we could ever imagine. that was a whole another, universe or stratosphere of exposure to fans. And so a lot of the fans that were young when the first shows first came out now are of that age where they sometimes have kids of their own, or they have disposable income where they want to relive those wonderful childhood memories and buy a collectible turtle toy or the item that they had and loved it so much it fell apart when they were kids, or some toy that they didn't get when they were kids and they want it now. But it's been a steady, ongoing fan love and support, as well as one thing that's even more mind-blowing is it's been a bit generational in that some, that's one of the things that always blows my mind, and Peter as well, is that we've got you guys the first time, and now you have this another generation of kids that found something interesting in the turtles, which is something that they find them interesting and funny and cherish. So it's like we got our hooks into them too. So,
Yeah, what is it like? Yes, there's now that second generation of Turtles fans, and you see some things come back into style, and then they kind of fall out again. But like, this is kind of like the third time the Ninja Turtles have like had a major resurgence in popularity. What's it like getting to see that legacy? Like, did you think when you started this, like, man, 35 years later, I'm still gonna be, doing Donatello, Michelangelo, Raphael?
That's what's been so, to be honest, quite humbling and such a precious gift. And because both Peter and I, again speaking for both of us, when we started out, we were huge fans of Jack Kirby and storytellers of that type, Kirby in particular, and that was our dream to kind of follow in his footsteps, to write and draw and tell our own stories with our own characters. And it's one of those dreams you think it never happened. Even my parents, when I told them I was going to be a comic book storyteller like Jack Kirby, they were just mortified that they'd probably have one of those kids that never moved out of the basement. So it's like, get your head in the real world. You need a real job, and you need to provide your family, and blah blah blah. You can't do it drawing cartoons. And so the fact that when we did the first book, we never thought we'd sell more than a handful of those, but we were so passionate, and we loved this medium so much, and comic book so much. We didn't care. We were going to do it at all costs. And after that first issue came out and it started selling, that was what was like, holy smokes. The dream really came true by the time we did the second issue, because we were making just enough money to pay for our rent and do comics full time. And that was in 1985. And since 1985, I've done nothing but write and draw, tell stories, featuring characters that I co-created for Peter Laird. And what a gift! And like you said, it's going through that first comic series to the cartoon series, and then we had the resurgence in the 2000 series. The great Kevin Monroe movie. Did in 2007, the early Fox Kids series. And then when you think it's sort of, well, that's it. What an incredible ride! What an incredible adventure! And then we got an opportunity to work with Viacom through Nickelodeon. We did the new 2012 series. And again, they just opened up the door to a whole other audience, and brought back some of the original fans. I go, oh, that's pretty cool. They're doing a good job with that. So that's quite a blessing, boy. So I don't know else to think.
So you mentioned a little bit of this yesterday to me, and talking about you were able to do this full time, and the failure that came with it, and overcoming that failure. For people who have those crazy ideas out there, what do you say about pursuing those ideas and dealing with the failures that are going to come with it? Because if you're going to do anything, you're going to fail along the way.
Yeah, no, it's because it's so wonderful. It's like I have a lot of young people that come up, and kids of all ages, to be honest, and they say, it could be as simple as, I've always wanted to be this, or I want to be that. How do I get from this side of the table to your side of the table, the other side of the table? And my advice is, almost for universal for if you're interested in sports, you want to be a writer, you want to be a musician, any of those kinds of things that you're passionate about, especially comic books, for example, as an example of my interest was. You just have to work at it every day, and it's no joke. I mean, it's one of those, well, I've got school, and I've got an after-school job, and I've got a family, and I've got just responsibilities, and just there's a lot that fills up every day. There's only 24 hours a day, whether it's me or you or anybody. But if you're passionate about something, you can find 20 minutes, 30 minutes every day to pursue that passion. If it's writing. If it's baseball, it's baseball. If it's drawing. But you really have to keep at it, and don't let people take that dream away from you, as well as be ready for some failure. Because Peter and I had 50, 60, 100 rejection letters from stuff that we'd submitted to for jobs, for even drawing little trading cards for a role-playing game company, or submissions to Marvel or DC, and all the publishers around that time. And we would save all the rejection letters, and that'd be a source of our inspiration. It's like to work harder. But it's not easy, and it's tough. But you gotta stick to it, and don't let that dream go.
Well, even with your success, you know, it can always be a bumpy ride. The Last Ronin is now complete, which is awesome. But you know, the next, you know, I feel like that was announced like right before the pandemic, and were you developing it during the pandemic, and how was it trying to develop that story while dealing with everything that's going on in the world?
It was really serendipitous and crazy, sort of like, you know, as sort of the stars, just everything aligns, good and bad. But it was is an interesting thing as we were heading into 2019, and I've been working with the incredible Tom Waltz and the head writer of IDW. We worked through we were coming up to the end of 100 issues of Turtle, so we knew in like late 2018, by December 2019 would be issue 100. And so Tom and I started having these conversations, like, well, what do we do after issue 100? And it reminded me of, Peter and I were in the same situation back in 1987. We'd finished a big story arc with the Turtles. It was issues 1 through 11 plus the 4 one-shots. And they're sort of, we'd wrapped up a big storyline and we were like, well, where do we go from here? And we said, well, we have the beginning, let's look at what the end might be, and that will give us sort of something to navigate towards. We have our beginning, let's come up with the end, and then go from there. And so, but the world had different ideas for us. That, you know, that was around the same time we started working on the cartoon shows and the toys, and then the movies, and then everything came. So one thing led to another, and suddenly 20 years goes by, and we never get to do that story. And so Tom and I, being in the same position, I dusted off that story, and I said, Tom, why don't we look at, you know, future setting the story, like where is the ending of the IDW Turtle universe? But Last Ronin leads heavily towards the Mirage Turtles universe. And so we said, well, let's sort of take a Dark Knight approach to that, based on the original story Peter and I wrote 32 years ago, adapt it, update it, expand it, and that was the beginning of Last Ronin, and that was probably early 2019. And so we worked on it the entire year, writing stories, breaking everything down, pacing everything out. So literally January 2020, just about when the pandemic kicked off, we were just starting Last Ronin, and it was like crazy. And that's sort of the evolution of how that story.
I'm sure a lot of people right now just love the Ronin series, and I just want to bring up Venus. The Return of Venus. I was excited. I was super excited. We hadn't seen Venus in a long time. What was the inspiration to bring Venus back?
It was a couple things. One is that when I worked on that series, when Peter and I worked on that series in the mid-90s, it was sort of another evolution of the Turtles. The cartoon show was going off air, and we were going into a live-action version of the Turtles. And the original concept we had was it was going to be a fifth male turtle named Kirby, named after Jack Kirby. And as we developed the series, Peter and I and the team were big fans of, you know, just really great, strong female characters, you know, Sarah Connor and Lieutenant Ripley and April and stuff. And so we said, well, let's add a female turtle into the mix. And I think just the way it was introduced, fans put up a lot of resistance. It come right off these successful cartoon series and the early movies, and they were just sort of like, it was almost like too soon kind of moment, and it was a lot of pushback. And that series kind of went away. Fast forward to the IDW series that Tom and I were doing, and by the time we were getting close to around issue 48, 49, we knew at some point we wanted to figure a way to bring a female turtle into the mix. And Tom had this idea for a character called Jenico, and she was a female assassin brought into the Foot Clan to assassinate Splinter in issue 51 of the Turtles. And she was intended to be just a character that we have for like, you know, 4, 5, 6 issues. But we quickly fell in love with her as a character, and we transitioned her from a member of the Foot to being adopted into the Mato Yoshi and the Mato clan. Her Splinter kind of took her under her wing, and we really fell in love with her as a character. And then by issue 60 plus, Tom and I said, well, we think we see a possibility that this character could evolve into a female turtle if we take the story in the right direction and pursue the right steps. So by issue 95, we had our female turtle. Venus was introduced. Jenico was introduced. You guys gave us a thumbs up, and it's been a positive thing. And then as Tom and I moved on to Last Ronin, Sophie Campbell came in and she was working on a bunch of ideas within the Turtle Universe, all set in Mutant Town after issue 100 episode. And she was always a huge fan of Venus. And so she came up with this way to bring Venus back kind of as a mix between Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas and a little bit of Frankensteinism, but all inspired by the original Venus. And so that's how we brought her back into the series. And she's been a lot of fun. The direction of the ongoing series is and has been, even since we got back off, since we finished Last Run, and Tom and I got back together, and we're doing a series called Armageddon Game, which is kind of pretty heavy stuff within the ongoing series. So we always had our feet in both worlds and enjoying it quite a lot. So.
I'm a big fan of the toy line. I know there's a lot of you guys out there collecting.
Yeah, the NECA line of toys.
Yeah, it's amazing. How'd you feel about Playmates holding the license for so long?
Well, you know, Playmates was such an incredible and tremendous company and a tremendous supporter since the very beginning. They were the ones that you know, took all the risk, they took all the chances on this really crazy idea. You know, back in 1988. When the first toys came out, and I remember I always tell this story because it was funny that you know the original first 5 episodes of the cartoon premiered between like Christmas of 1987, that holiday break before January 1988. And so the cartoon show came out, and the response was positive enough that Playmates then decided to go ahead and fund the toys, and so then toys came out in June of 1988. And we lived in Massachusetts at the time, and the big toy store chain at that time was KB Toys. And so we didn't actually still believe that actually the Turtle Toys would be in a toy store on the show. And, so we drove down to Springfield and going through the toy store, heading towards the action figure section. And just about the time we got there, this mom was dragging her young son out of the action figure aisle, going, "No, I'm not buying you one of those stupid Ninja Turtle toys." And Pete and I were like, "Oh, what have we done?" But Playmates has been, you know, the heart and soul of all things Turtles with the toys for so long, including some of my favorite. It's funny that he's also a guest this weekend. My favorite TV show as a kid was Star Trek, and so they did a lot of Star Trek Turtles.
Oh, I remember those. Those are sweet, yeah. Yeah, my next question was going to be what were some of your favorite pieces? Because like the pizza thrower was like the best thing ever as a kid.
And
like,
the first version of that was really lethal.
Yes.
There was like some kind of mix-up in the factory.
Yeah, it spun. It like when it spun up, it was just like a tennis ball throw. Like.
The spring was very strong.
Usually you get those and it's like the thing and it goes bloop, and this thing was like, no, it shot across the room. That's what you wanted.
Oh, it was awesome. Like as a kid, it was awesome. Like I still don't know where. Like my parents still live in that house. I don't know where some of those darn pizzas went because like they went flying and then they're just gone forever. But you were so creative. Like everything. Like the art. Who did the artwork for the boxes?
There was a couple different artists, but there was one main guy, Gavin. He just saw my show. The name went out of my head. His first name's Gavin. But he was one of the original guys that was brought in to do that design. It was sort of, Pete and I, when we first saw it, we felt it looked a little cartoony, a little too cartoony, a little too amateurish.
Yeah.
But we had its own style and it had its own character. And it was really embraced from the word go. So we kept that style. We said, well, it's really become our trademark. And I loved it. It's like, you know, the toilet taxi and the blimp and all those wonderful drawings. And even now when they're doing the re-release of some of those classic toys, they're using that original.
Absolutely, yeah. NECA Super 7 is doing an amazing job.
Super 7 is doing great. And that's you know, and I love the fact that Playmates is still doing toys, but the way that Nickelodeon manages all things Turtles these days, they've been able to expand into deals with whether it be Funko Pops, Super 7, NECA, who's done just a tremendous job of, you know, I remember the first time seeing the Turtles movie toys that NECA was doing. It really, I saw photographs of them and it looked like they were taking snap movies on the set of the actual movie. They were that
right, yeah,
beautiful.
Super accurate.
So yeah, NECA's doing, coming up is they're doing a line of Last Ronin toys based on the original comic, and then I've been doing some some drawings for them. They've gone back and done some toys based on the original Mirage Studios comic. So Future Toy has come out so far, but they're doing a new Casey. They're doing the Utroms with the exoskeleton with the little Utrom creature in there. Renette, a couple other ones that are on the list. So it's fun to see them go back to the original comics for some of them.
What would be on your wish list?
Man, it's like it's funny because one of my favorite bad guys from the original comic series was this guy named Savante Romero, and it was named after a huge George Romero fan. The Night of the Living Dead, Day of the Dead, all those original zombie movies before zombies and Robert Kirkland took over the world, which I love that series. But it was so Tom Savini was one of George Romero's special effects guys.
Yep.
So Day of the Dead, and so Savini Romero is my tip of the hat to George Romero and Tom Savini and those things. And he's kind of some weird guys with horns and stuff. But I like the bad guys, and so that was one. So maybe they'll add that. Maybe Nick will add that to the list.
Yeah, and so that's interesting that you bring that up, because we know the inspiration for the Turtles and stuff like that, and Shredder with the grates and stuff, but there's so many other villains, there's such an amazing plethora of villains in the Ninja Turtles universe that, the inspiration comes from, like, movie directors and stuff like that. Where did some of the other villains come from?
Well, it's a really fun collaboration, especially in the early days. Peter and I had full control over all things Turtles, and so that when things are developed, whether it be some of the movies or the cartoon series and things like that we would work with different writers and different directors and creative talent as part of the series. Again, whether it be live action or animation. And so, like the cartoon series, for example, like Bebop and Rocksteady, Mutant Warhawk and Mutant Rhino, those originally were sourced. We created those for the first role-playing game, which came out in 1986. If you saw that original game, there was lots of additional mutant characters. And so some of that source material stuff that we'd already created, we just sort of evolved it further into those into that universe. And then it was a matter of story, because you sort of come up with a story concept, then you sort of have to back into it, because you figure, you think like the very first Turtle movie, we had nothing like the special effects that we have now. So the people that actually did the stunts in those original costumes were these incredibly talented stuntmen, like Ernie Reyes Jr. He was Donatello. He was a stunt Donatello in the first movie. Those suits weighed 80 pounds. And so they're wearing these 80-pound rubber suits, and they, if you look at them, the actors were, the eyes in those suits were set for movie magic. So you had the eyes, but the actor had to look out through these little slits just below the mask. And so they're doing stunts practically blind, looking at these things, and it was all practical stuff. But, so that was sort of coupled with the creativity as the limitations to what you could do creatively. So inspiration came for lots of different ways, places.
I know there's a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie out. How much involvement do you have?
In which one? The next one?
Yeah.
Well, the next one, and my involvement is, I saw my interest in the Turtles many years ago, but it's like a scene out of The Godfather or something. It's like every time I do that, they bring me back. The Turtles have never been very far from me, and I love having every chance to spend time with them that I do. So when I get invited back by Nickelodeon, there's been nothing but awesome and respectful. They bring me in to consult on the cartoon shows, and I work mostly on the comics, which is my favorite passion. I did some consulting on the last couple of Turtle movies with mixed results, but I'm glad we finally got to see Bebop and Rocksteady on the big screen, crying on the big screen. But they're working on a new animated movie that Seth Rogen is doing that I've not seen anything, and it's kind of cool that he's had an idea, and his creative team has an idea what they want to do, what kind of story they want to tell. So I'm going to be with all of you, sitting in the theater and watching it for the first time. So, and that's what's the fun part about in working on different Turtle projects. Like, say for example, one of my favorite Turtle animated movies was in 2007. A director named Kevin Monroe did that animated movie that came up then, and I just thought that was just a wonderful Turtle movie in every sense of the word. So it's great to see them sort of do what they do best and bring their passion and love for the Turtles and what they want to see the Turtles do, and they're always respectful. It's pretty cool.
what other future things do you want to see the Turtles do? Like, so you finally got to cross the last Ronin off your list of things. Are there still like any other like, you know, Ninja Turtles go to Mars or something like that? Like, just the next like wild idea? Like, you know, you killed 3 of them off, which is, you know, pretty bold at this point. So like, what's next on the list of things?
Well, on a couple of different fronts, you know, it's great to have, you know, I guess, you know, the buzzword is they call it a multiverse these days. But it's funny, like, I feel like we've always had a multiverse for the Turtles. And even, you know, to be honest, it was nothing new that we created. A lot of comic books, you know, I remember reading Spider-Man, there were 5 different versions of Spider-Man at the same time. You know, the Amazing Spider-Man, the Web of Spider-Man, and Peter Parker.
Wolverine was in everything too.
Wolverine.
Yeah, how did he get here?
So the Turtles, I felt like our multiverse was the original black and white comics that Peter and I started with, and then we had the animated series, which was a universe unto itself, you know, based on so many things. And then when we get into the early live-action movies, the live-action movies to me was sort of a hybrid of right in the middle between the animated and black and white comics. So with the Ronin, you know, Ronin became sort of a I'll say like a Dark Knight sort of kind of darker universe of the things Turtles. So we sort of added that dimension to it. So we're right now in the comics we're doing the ongoing series, the IDW ongoing series, which is a full cast and regular crew of all things Turtles and what's taking place in that series. But the popularity of Last Ronin, Tom and I had a number of ideas, and we weren't sure what the response would be to Last Ronin, but we said, well, if we get an opportunity to tell more stories in the Ronin universe, this is what we do. But we sort of put that idea on a shelf, and then again, with the popularity of it, we dusted some of those off. So we know it's something we'd like to continue telling in the Last Ronin universe. At the same time, we jump back and we're working on the ongoing series. So that's going. And then, you know, on the entertainment front, everybody's sort of taking a couple big steps back, looking at what Seth Rogen's going to do, and then we'll decide what we want to do on the entertainment front there. But personally, I love the Turtles Batman crossover animated movie.
That was amazing. Yeah, you guys see that?
That was super. So, you know, Tom and I, when we have those little conversations, like, oh man, wouldn't it be great to do the Last Ronin as one of those things? You know, like they did Dark Knight, they had Dark Knight as an animated one of those, Batman Year One and stuff. So that's sort of a secret wish for us, is maybe we'll see Last Ronin as a tribute, not in the way we did Last Ronin, but as a series. But you never know. You never know.
Yeah, Kevin, thank you so much for being here. And I also want to give you guys times out here if you guys have any questions and you'd like to come up.
Yeah, Dave's got a microphone back there, so if you have any questions.
I was at your signing yesterday, and that inspires this question. What was your most intense signing that you attended?
The most intense signing? Well, you guys yesterday pretty much knocked it up to a whole other level. You know, my joke is, and I can bless every single one of you, because I joke that I wouldn't wait in line to see me. I'm really glad. No, I really do appreciate it, and it speaks volumes for the passion and love that you have for these characters that I co-created with Peter, and you're willing to stand in those lines for 3 or 4 hours to come. And I love it. I mean, that's one of my favorite parts of coming to these shows, is getting a chance to, say hi to you in person, to thank you in person for, basically giving me a great life. I'm living a childhood dream. I get up, I put my sweatpants on, my slippers, and I go down to my studio and I draw comic books. And that's the greatest. I was doing that at 9 years old. I'm 60 now, and I'm still doing it. It's your fault.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So it really is it's quite an amazing thing. So it's great that I get to come here and hang out with you guys. And I know it's been a long couple of years where we've all sort of hunkered down to protect our loved ones, be safe, and from COVID and all that stuff. But we're back doing shows, and we get to come back out again and say thank you in person, and thank you for standing in those lines.
Woo!
Thank you.
Well, recently, IDW complete the Unfinished Adventures comic series line.
Which one?
Adventures.
Oh, the
Adventures.
It was, and that's because we have those conversations a lot. Because we love all those different Turtle universes, and that's what's been so fantastic about working with IDW is they've gone back with great care and attention and done, whether it be the hardcover collections and the collections of the early black and white books to even most recently it was a discussion we had for a couple of years before we had them. Everybody agreed to complete the Image series that was started. Eric Larson started publishing. It was going to be 26 episodes. They got to issue 23, and the sales weren't there at the time. We were to go back and recolor it all, plus finish with the original creative team the final 3 issues of that, which is the Legends series. And so being able to collect and do that kind of stuff or finish those storylines. But we've had that conversation, and sort of it's a matter of putting a number of pieces together to see if we can make that happen. Because it's really rewarding for us creatively to do that, and for the fans that have been passionate about it.
So when you are working on something originally, you get to do whatever you want with it for the most part. It was Mirage was your and Peter's baby. It was your creation.
Yes.
But then when it got bigger, you had to compromise. You had to work with other companies.
Yep.
Was there anything that you worked on with other companies, Nickelodeon, Viacom, what have you, that you wish you didn't have to, or something you could have done, you wish you could have done differently?
You know, it's a really good question, and it's funny. I'm getting used to seeing you on a costume. She was dressed as April, so it was awesome. But it was, you know, it was in the early days when, you know, because Peter and I did almost 300 episodes of the original cartoon series, the 3 movies, and there were just minor frustrations in some of those that, like, like, say, movie 2, which I love, Secret of the Ooze, but if you read the original Secret of the Ooze script, it just had a little bit more edge to it. It was a bit more like a live-action cartoon than we wanted, more like the first movie, which was kind of a foot in both universes. So something for an older audience as well as keeping that lovely, the awesomeness of the cartoon series. But again, Secret of the Ooze is some of the fans' favorite, and it was a really fun movie. You get to see, Ernie Reyes in front of the camera as well, which is cool. So for some of that stuff, there were some things that we liked a little bit less, a little bit more. But I think for both Peter and I, when we sort of stepped away from the lanes, and then you're handing your baby over to someone that's got a creative version of it, and some of those we liked really a lot, some we didn't like as much. But it was always with we never hated any of them. Kevin Monroe's 2007 movie I mentioned was fantastic. There was a Turtles Forever movie. Remember that Turtles?
Oh, that was so good.
That
was so good.
Awesome.
That was fantastic. And one of my favorite of late was I love the 2012 animated series, which I thought was the best.
So, kind of a follow-up question, because I know in UK it was Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, and Michelangelo wasn't allowed to use nunchucks on the show. He had the grappling hook. So I always thought, was that the reason, like, they didn't use weapons in that second movie? Like, they always pulled out, like, the sausages, or they had the foam bat. Was that to help, like, appease the UK markets a little bit more?
It was that, but that was part of a number of complaints, because it was. But it's funny because you look at those some of the early reviews of the movie, and a lot of them sort of like, well, it was a lot of weaponry used, and they felt that was putting out the wrong message. It was like they kept saying it was too violent. So we'd have sort of one or series of reviews that said it's too much. This is too. It should be for an older audience. At the same time, you would have reviews from like the Christian Science Monitor, who pointed out like the fact that it was like respect for their elders, like with their father, and this and that. It was life lessons. It wasn't just all about the violence.
Right. Yeah.
So, but there were a number of issues like the UK, and that was one of the things. And I just keep watching this funny thing where a lot of times people have come up over the years and they said, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with the martial arts heritage and all that stuff, that it must have been hugely popular in Asia or Japan. And oddly enough, it wasn't. It was in a very small way, but it was like, you think of a ninja, that's sort of the big hoodwink that we pulled on everybody, is a ninja is, a bad guy. And so we have people be like, Teenage Mutant Murdering Turtle, what is this? So it didn't translate very well to especially the Asian market. So that was where Hero Turtle came in. But yeah, it's funny but it is funny at the same time that it translated to different countries, which is to me is even more mind blowing. Americans. We're very cool, but we're a little nutty. But we can appreciate that kind of humor like that. But when it translates to a completely different language and still has some resonance and finds fans there, that's quite humbling, quite mind-blowing.
Hey Ben, what can you tell us about the origins of the Rat King? He's my favorite.
Thank you. No, Rat King was great because there was many bad guys that evolved out of the original series. And that was actually the brainchild of Jim Lawson. Like when we had the original Mirage series, one of the things that Peter and I were doing, we had the continuity in the ongoing series. We wanted to sort of keep it consistent, but we felt like there were lots of other stories we could tell and bring new characters in the Turtle universe. So we started a second comic called Tales of the Turtles, and that's where we found the opportunity to do kind of these one-off stories. So we would always start with the first page would be a turtle sitting in a situation saying, "Let me tell you the story," and you flash back to like Leatherhead, the creation of Leatherhead, or Rat King. And I'm trying to think, that was sort of an issue. But it was a great opportunity to bring other characters into change. So Jim Lawson had this great idea about like Pied Piper like character that you don't know if he was a genius or he was insane, but he had this ability to control rats. And it was a great story that he brought up, and it was very sort of emotionally complex as a story, but it was nicely done. We fell in love with that character. Same with Leatherhead. So it was great to see some of those ideas that started just a one-off, and we never thought we had a chance to do them again. Being part of the Turtles universe for just about every different iteration of the sense. So, I love it. And actually, it's funny. As a great plug-ola for the Armageddon game, which is what we're doing in the ongoing series now. It's all orchestrated by Rat King, and you're gonna dig it.
Right.
There's some crazy stuff.
There's two things that I could just watch over and over and over. And this, when the Rat King was playing the flute and Master Splinter couldn't resist, I could laugh all day.
Yeah.
And the second one is the Crooked Ninja Turtle game. When he does the little jump kick to the vending machine,
Yeah.
I can watch that all day. I love those two scenes.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's the fun stuff, and you get to do like little moments like that. There's even I'm thinking like back to the first Turtle movie, and it's like that scene where because Corey Feldman did the voice of Donatello in the early movies, and Casey and April are fighting Judith Hogue, which I think some of you guys met her. I think she's done a show.
It was here last year.
Last year, it was when they were doing the thing they were arguing in the kitchen, and Donatello goes like, "Oh, it's just like moonlighting, unless you knew about the Sybil Shepherd, Bruce Willis show back in the day. It was just so very specific, spot on humor for that time period." So
I think we have time for one last question.
Yep.
The 2007 movie is also my favorite, and the scene with Leo and Raph when they finally fight is my favorite in just cinematic history altogether. But even though Leo's my favorite, I have to ask for all the Donnie and Mike fans: is there a Donnie and Mike story arc that you feel the movies need to show? Because even though I love them, Leo and Raph, it does seem kind of like they hog the spotlight. So what Mike and Donnie moment or story arc do the movies need to bring forth?
Well, it's great because it is sort of like when we originally created the Turtles and their personalities, it was really based on stereotypes. Even I could almost point specifically to the Fantastic Four, if you will, or X-Men. Those really early inspirations of you had dynamically different opposing viewpoints on how to approach a situation from the individual characters, but as always, when you're a family or you're a team, when you all join together, playing on each other's strengths and teamwork, you can solve anything. And so, and I like that in the Nickelodeon, the 2012 series, that there were great moments like that, because Rob Paulson, who did Donatello in the new series, who did Raphael in the original series, which was really awesome. If you ever get a chance to meet Rob, you must. He's a great guy. But it was great that Donnie was really brought to the front of being a more important ongoing character, and I thought Greg Sipes, Michael was just the wackiest, the best Mikey ever. In fact, when you mentioned them two teaming up, I immediately thought of, and I actually got to do the voice of the characters with the creation of Ice Cream Kitty. I think we should have an Ice Cream Kitty feature film.
Seth Rogen, are you listening to this? Seth Rogen, that's a follow-up.
At least a Funko Pop, man.
But it was funny because Cyril Neely, who's an absolute genius, he's the one that really spearheaded the creation of the IDW universe in the 2012 series. And he loved the original black and white Christmas special that Peter and I did, where Michelangelo finds a stray cat named Clunk, names a Clunk, and becomes part of the Turtle universe. So we wanted to bring something like that into the Nickelodeon universe. And so, this cat is brought back by April and Michelangelo, this is mine. And then he's messing around in the laboratory, and Donnie's trying to do something, so he accidentally spills mutagen on some ice cream, and the cat licks it. Becomes an ice cream mutated kitty. So Michelangelo has to carry him around in a little cooler, or keeps him in the fridge. Rat King's actually in that episode too. It's a pretty twisted episode. But it was when they were introduced it at San Diego Comic-Con. Once they were showing characters they were going to do an upcoming series, and stuff right off the Zero sketch pad. And they'd asked me a couple times that they said, we want to come up with a character for you to do in the cartoon, like a bad guy or a good guy or something. And after that, I saw the drawings. I went up to Zero and I said, I want to be Ice Cream Kitty. And he said, no, we'll come up with something else. I said, no, dude, I really want to be Ice Cream Kitty. I just want to be able to go to a convention and wear a shirt that says, I'm Ice Cream Kitty, and then make my wife wear one that says, I'm with Ice Cream Kitty. But I think that Ciro did a good job at bringing Michelangelo and Donatello into some pretty interesting situations. So it wasn't always, rough.
Yeah, I agree. That series is much more balanced. Yeah.
It's really clever. There's some really twisted stuff in there. So. If you ever rewatched it, or seen it, even I was thinking, one of my favorites is the last season, which was also Tales of the series. It was a Tales series. The 2017 was the final season. I wrote one in there called Lone Rat and Cubs, which was based on a Japanese TV series called Lone Wolf and Cub. And it was when Splinter first discovers the mutant turtles and they first were exposed to the mutagen. So we got to show how they were named and how Raphael got his little chip in his shell. But one of my favorite ones is that Zero did this 3-part episode of Usagi Yojimbo, which if you've never seen Sakai or seen the Samurai Rabbit character, his creation, Usagi Yojimbo, that if you play it as a movie, as all 3 episodes together, it's fantastic.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Kevin Eastman.
Thank you so much. Just want to say again, thanks for making us feel so loved. Thanks for sending in those lines. We really appreciate you. We hope to come back and see you again soon. I know we're doing one final signing before we went to the airport, so again, appreciate you so much. Thanks for hanging out with us this weekend, and thank you guys.
Yeah, have a great day.
Cowabunga.
Cowabunga.